The great hall of the Galactic Dominion Council stretched far beyond what any single eye could see. Crystal walls rose high into the darkness above, and thousands of seats held beings from across the galaxy. Some had fur, others had scales, and many had features that would make humans stare in wonder. Today they were all here for one simple purpose: to vote on the fate of a small blue planet called Earth. HFY stood at the speaking platform. His gray skin gleamed under the bright lights, and his forearms moved as he talked. He was proud to be the one bringing this news to the council. For months, his scouts had watched the third planet in a system humans called the Solar System. What they found made him laugh. Council members, HFY began, his voice carrying to every corner of the hall. I bring you news of a world ripe for our taking. The planet Earth sits alone, unprotected. With beings so simple, they still use chemical rockets to barely escape their own sky. A rumble of interest moved through the crowd. Many species had joined the Dominion after showing their strength. It was always the same. The Council would arrive, show their power, and the planet would surrender. Then the Dominion would grow larger and stronger. These humans, HFY continued, have weapons that use nuclear fusion, but only in the most basic way. They fight among themselves constantly. Their largest ships cannot even reach their own moon quickly. They are perfect for our next expansion. In the crowd, some council members nodded. Others looked bored. Taking weak planets was so common now that it barely interested them. The Dominion had done this 847 times before. Earth would be number 848. I say we vote now, called out Zephron from his seat. He was a military leader, and his red eyes showed his eagerness for another easy victory. My fleet is ready. We can have this done in 3 days. Far away from the council chambers on the planet they were discussing, Dr. Kang Minho sat in his laboratory at Seoul National University. Banks of computers hummed around him, and screens showed data from deep space sensors. Something was wrong with the readings, but he could not figure out what. Jiwon, he called to his colleague, Dr. Park Jiwon, who was working at another desk. Look at these quantum signatures. I am seeing patterns that should not exist. Dr. Park Jiwon walked over and looked at the screen. The numbers made no sense. According to the data, something very large was moving through space toward their solar system, but the energy readings were unlike anything in their databases. The equipment must be broken, Dr. Park said, shaking her head. These readings show something the size of a small moon, but moving faster than anything we know can move. Dr. Kang Minho was not so sure. He had been studying space for 20 years, and he trusted his instruments. Something was coming toward Earth, something big, and it would arrive in about 30 days. Back in the council chambers, the debate was ending. Most members had already decided. Earth looked weak and easy to conquer. The humans had no allies, no advanced technology, and no way to fight back against the mighty Dominion fleet. All in favor of authorizing intervention on Earth? HFY asked. Lights began to glow across the hall as members voted. Green lights meant yes, red lights meant no. The counting system worked quickly, and soon the results appeared on the main screen. 23 votes in favor, 224 votes against, announced the council computer. Motion passes. Earth intervention is authorized. Zephron stood up, his military uniform bright against his dark skin. I will take 200 ships. Standard procedure. We arrive, we show our power, they surrender. I expect to be back here in 1 week with news of our victory. The council members began to leave, already thinking about other business. Taking Earth was just another item on their long list of tasks. They had done this so many times that it felt routine. But Dr. Kang Minho was not giving up on his strange readings. He sent his data to colleagues around the world. Within hours, other scientists confirmed what he had found. Something was definitely approaching Earth, and it was big. The news reached Captain Lee Hanul at Korean Space Command, just as she was finishing her daily reports. When she saw the data, she immediately called General Kim Taejin. Sir, we have a situation, Captain Lee said when the general answered. Our scientists are detecting multiple large objects approaching the solar system. Estimated arrival in 29 days. General Kim had been in the military for 30 years. He had seen many false alarms, but something in Captain Lee's voice told him this was different. How large? He asked. Sir, if these readings are correct, we are looking at objects the size of cities, maybe larger. General Kim was quiet for a moment. Then he said, send the data to our allies immediately. And Captain Lee? Yes, sir? Start making preparations. If something that big is coming here, we need to be ready. Around the world, similar conversations were happening. The American Space Agency received the Korean data and confirmed it with their own sensors. The European Space Station detected the same signals. Even the small space programs in other countries were picking up signs that something massive was heading toward Earth. Dr. Lim Seo-young, who worked for the International Space Cooperation Program, was one of the first to realize what this might mean. She had spent years studying the possibility of life on other planets. Now it seemed, life from other planets was coming to study Earth. "We need to prepare for first contact," she told her team during an emergency meeting. "Whatever is coming, we need to be ready to communicate." Her team worked around the clock to prepare communication systems. They created messages in mathematics, music, and pictures. If aliens were coming to Earth, humans would try to greet them peacefully. But General Kim and military leaders around the world were preparing for a different possibility. They remembered history lessons about what happened when technologically advanced civilizations met less advanced ones. It usually did not end well for the less advanced side. 30 days, General Kim said to his staff. "We have 30 days to prepare for the most important event in human history." While humans on Earth scrambled to prepare, Admiral Zephron was selecting his fleet. 200 ships seemed like far more than needed for such a primitive world. But the Council liked to be thorough. His ships were fast, powerful, and had weapons that could destroy entire cities in seconds. "This will be easy," Zephron told his officers as they prepared to leave. "The humans will see our ships and immediately surrender. We will be home before the Council even misses us." His fleet left Dominion space with great confidence. They had conquered hundreds of worlds before. Earth would be no different. Dr. Kang Minho watched his instruments as the objects grew closer. Each day the signals became stronger and clearer. Whatever was coming was definitely artificial, ships of some kind. And they were slowing down as they approached the solar system. "They are not just passing through," he told Dr. Park Ji-won. "They are coming here specifically, coming to Earth." The world's governments tried to keep the news secret, but rumors began to spread. Social media filled with theories about the approaching objects. Some people were excited about meeting aliens. Others were terrified. Captain Lee Hanul was not excited or terrified. She was focused on doing her job. Every day, she received new orders about preparing Earth's defenses. It seemed impossible that their small fleet of spacecraft could fight against something so large and advanced. But she would try. Commander Yoon Soo-jin, who led the lunar base operations, received similar orders. Her job was to coordinate Earth's space-based defenses. It was not much, a few dozen armed spacecraft and some defensive platforms, but it was all they had. As the alien fleet grew closer, one thing became clear to everyone watching. Earth was about to face the greatest challenge in human history. The question was whether they would survive it. Admiral Zephron, confident in his superior technology and experience, had no doubt about the outcome. His fleet would arrive, demonstrate their power, and Earth would surrender. It was as simple as that, but Dr. Kang Minho, watching his screens as the fleet approached, had a different feeling. Something about this situation felt wrong, as if there were pieces of the puzzle he was missing. He just hoped they would have time to figure out what those pieces were. In less than one day, the alien fleet would arrive at Earth, and nothing would ever be the same again. Admiral Zephron stood on the bridge of his flagship as his fleet dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of Earth's solar system. He expected to see empty space dotted with a few primitive satellites and maybe some crude space stations. Instead, his sensors immediately began screaming warnings. "Sir," his tactical officer said, his voice shaking slightly, "I am reading thousands of objects in orbit around the planet. This is not what our intelligence reports described." Zephron moved to the sensor station and looked at the displays himself. The space around Earth was filled with structures. Some looked like space stations, others like ships, and many were shapes he had never seen before. All of them were giving off energy signatures that his computers could not identify. "Run a full scan," he ordered. "I want to know what we are looking at." On Luna Base, Commander Yoon Soo-jin received the alert she had been waiting for. "Unknown fleet detected at the edge of the solar system," her communications officer reported. 200 vessels, all heavily armed. Commander Yoon had spent the last month preparing for this moment. She looked at her tactical display, which showed not just the alien fleet but also the defensive grid that Earth had quietly put in place. To outside observers, many of the defensive platforms looked like asteroids or space debris. Only someone who knew where to look would recognize them as weapons. "Signal General Kim," she ordered. "Tell him the guests have arrived." Dr. Lim Seoyoung was in the main communications center when the first signals came from the alien fleet. She had prepared for this moment, creating translation programs and communication protocols. Her team had practiced first contact procedures hundreds of times. "They are broadcasting on multiple frequencies," her technician reported. "The message is repeating in what appears to be several different languages." Dr. Lim listened to the alien transmission. Even without understanding the words, the tone was clear. This was not a friendly greeting. This was a demand. "Send our response," she said. Her team activated the communication system they had prepared. The message went out in mathematics, pictures, and simple audio tones. But the words, when spoken in clear English, were not what the aliens expected to hear. "You are not welcome here," Dr. Lim said into the microphone. "Withdraw immediately." On Zephron's flagship, the translation computers worked quickly to decode the human message. When the meaning became clear, several officers looked at each other in surprise. "They are telling us to leave?" asked the communications officer. Zephron laughed. In all his years of conquest, no primitive world had ever told the Dominion fleet to go away. Usually they begged for mercy or offered immediate surrender. "Broadcast standard response," he ordered. "Tell them to prepare for demonstration of our power. If they surrender now, we will be merciful." But the humans did not respond with fear or surrender. Instead, more ships began appearing around Earth. They seemed to come from nowhere, dropping out of some kind of stealth mode that Zephron's sensors had completely missed. Admiral Choi Junho was in the command center deep beneath Seoul when he received word that the aliens had arrived. He had been preparing for this day for longer than anyone knew. "Much longer. How many ships do they have?" he asked his staff. 200, sir. Heavy cruisers and destroyers, standard Dominion design." Admiral Choi nodded. His intelligence had been correct. The Dominion was following their usual pattern. Overwhelming force against what they believed was a helpless target. They had no idea what they were really facing. "Activate the grid," he ordered. All stations. Across the solar system, objects that had looked like asteroids, space debris, and abandoned satellites suddenly came to life. Weapons platforms that had been hidden for years revealed themselves. The space around Earth transformed from seemingly empty to obviously defended in a matter of minutes. Zephron watched his tactical display with growing alarm. Where moments before his sensors had detected a few dozen primitive spacecraft, now they showed thousands of armed platforms and hundreds of advanced ships. "This is impossible," he muttered. "Our intelligence said they barely had spaceflight capability." His science officer was running scan after scan, trying to understand what they were seeing. "Sir, these energy signatures do not match anything in our database. Their ships are using propulsion systems we do not recognize." "Sir," his communications officer interrupted, "we are receiving another transmission from the planet." Dr. Lim Seoyoung's voice came across the speakers again, but this time she was not alone. The transmission was being broadcast by every human ship and station in the system. "This is Earth Defense Command," she said. "You have entered our space without permission and with hostile intent. You have exactly 1 hour to withdraw beyond the edge of our system, or we will consider you an invading force and act accordingly." Zephron felt his confidence cracking. This was not how these missions were supposed to go. Primitive worlds did not make demands. They did not have defense grids. They certainly did not have fleets that appeared out of nowhere. "Prepare for demonstration," he ordered, falling back on standard Dominion procedure. When faced with resistance, they would destroy something impressive but not militarily important. The show of force usually ended all opposition immediately. His targeting officer selected an asteroid near Earth's moon. It was large enough to make an impressive explosion, but far enough from the planet to avoid civilian casualties. The Dominion always preferred to conquer intact worlds rather than damaged ones. "Fire," Zephron commanded. The main weapon of his flagship charged and fired, sending a beam of energy that could vaporize a small mountain. The beam struck the asteroid perfectly, and for a moment it seemed like the demonstration would work as planned. Then something unexpected happened. Instead of exploding into dust, the asteroid absorbed the energy beam and immediately fired back. "Commander Yoon." Sujin smiled as she watched the alien weapon strike Defense Platform 7. The platform had been disguised as an asteroid for 3 years, waiting for exactly this moment. Its shields absorbed the alien weapon easily, and its return fire was much more impressive. The beam that shot back from the asteroid struck Zephron's flagship with enough force to penetrate its shields and damage its main hull. Alarms began screaming across the bridge as damage reports came in. "Shield generators offline," reported his engineer. "Hull breach on decks 15 through 20. But that was not the end of it. Two more hidden platforms revealed themselves and fired on nearby Dominion ships. Within seconds, 3 of Zephron's destroyers were gone completely, vaporized by weapons that his science officer insisted should not exist. "Sir," his tactical officer said, his voice now clearly panicked, "we are reading massive energy buildups throughout the system. Whatever those platforms are, there are hundreds of them." Captain Namjiho was aboard one of the human interceptor ships that had been waiting in the shadow of Earth's moon. When the aliens fired on the defense platform, his orders became clear. "All ships, this is Captain Nam," he broadcast to his squadron. "Weapons free. Show them what humans can do." His ship, along with 50 others, accelerated toward the alien fleet. But they did not move like the primitive chemical rockets the aliens expected. They moved faster than anything in the Dominion database, using drives that seemed to bend space itself. Zephron watched in horror as the human ships approached his fleet at impossible speeds. His weapons officers tried to target them, but the human ships seemed to phase in and out of normal space, making them nearly impossible to hit. "How are they doing that?" he demanded. His science officer was studying the readings frantically. "Sir, they appear to be using some form of quantum displacement drive. But that technology is theoretical. No one has ever made it work." The human ships reached the alien fleet and began their attack. Their weapons were unlike anything the Dominion had ever encountered. Instead of energy beams or missiles, they fired what looked like streams of pure force that passed right through Dominion shields as if they were not there. Dr. Song Minjung was in the main defense command center, coordinating the human response. She had been waiting for this moment for 5 years. Ever since the decision was made to reveal Earth's true capabilities, "All platforms online," she reported to Admiral Choi. "Enemy fleet is taking heavy damage." "Admiral," Choi watched the tactical display with satisfaction. The Dominion fleet was powerful, but they had come expecting to fight primitive humans with chemical rockets. Instead, they were facing technology that was decades ahead of their own. "Signal the enemy flagship," he ordered. It is time they understood their situation. The transmission from Earth reached Zephron's damaged flagship, just as he was trying to reorganize his scattered fleet. The human who appeared on his screen was not Dr. Lim, but a military officer in a crisp uniform. "This is Admiral Choi Junho of Earth Defense Command," the human said. "You are outgunned, outmaneuvered, and completely unprepared for this fight. I suggest you withdraw immediately while you still can." Zephron looked at his tactical display. Half his fleet was gone or badly damaged. The human ships continued to attack with weapons his shields could not stop, and more human reinforcements were arriving every minute. "This is Admiral Zephron of the Galactic Dominion," he replied, trying to keep his voice steady. "You do not understand what you are fighting. We represent 847 worlds. If you destroy this..." The emergency session of the Galactic Dominion Council was unlike anything in the organization's history. Thesavar stood at the speaking platform again, but this time his forearms shook as he read the reports from Admiral Zephron's fleet. "Council members," he began, his voice lacking its earlier confidence. "We have received disturbing news from the Earth operation. Admiral Zephron reports that his fleet has been defeated." A wave of shocked murmurs swept through the Great Hall. Many council members had never heard the word defeated used to describe a Dominion fleet operation. "How is this possible?" called out Council Member Vextha from her seat. The intelligence report showed a primitive world with basic technology. Thaisavar's gray skin had turned even paler. The intelligence reports were wrong. Completely wrong. On Earth, Dr. Song Minjung was coordinating the largest military operation in human history. But unlike the desperate last stand that Admiral Zephron expected, this was a carefully planned reveal of capabilities that had been hidden for decades. Phase 2 is now active, she announced to command centers around the world. All hidden installations are authorized to reveal themselves. Across the solar system, the true scale of Earth's defenses became visible. Installations that had been disguised as research stations revealed massive weapon arrays, Mining operations on asteroids showed themselves to be military bases. Even some of the abandoned space stations near Jupiter turned out to be fully operational fleet yards. Fleet Admiral Bay Hyungsoo was aboard the flagship of Earth's main battle fleet when he received word that Phase 2 was complete. His fleet had been hiding in the shadow of Saturn for the past week, waiting for exactly this moment. "Signal all ships," he ordered. "It is time to show our guests the rest of our capabilities." The fleet that emerged from behind Saturn was massive. 200 ships, each one larger and more advanced than anything in Admiral Zephron's defeated force. These were not the small interceptors that had destroyed half the Dominion fleet. These were capital ships built for major warfare. Admiral Zephron, watching from his damaged flagship, felt his remaining confidence collapse completely. "How many ships do they have?" he asked his tactical officer. "Sir, our sensors are detecting fleets throughout the solar system. Current count is over 800 ships, but more keep appearing." 800 ships. The entire Dominion fleet that had conquered 847 worlds had fewer than 1,000 vessels. And these humans, who were supposed to be primitive, had nearly as many ships in just one star system. Back in the council chambers, the reports kept getting worse. HFY read each new transmission with growing horror. "Admiral Zephron reports that human technology is far beyond our understanding," he said. "Their ships use propulsion systems we cannot identify. Their weapons pass through our shields. Their energy sources are more powerful than anything we have seen." Council member Krexelon stood up, his insect-like features showing clear agitation. "This must be some kind of mistake. No world developed such technology without joining the galactic community. We would have detected their signals decades ago." That was when the next transmission arrived. Dr. Lim Seo-young appeared on the main screen of the council chamber, her image clear and steady despite the vast distance between Earth and the Dominion capital. "Members of the Galactic Dominion Council," she said, "this is Dr. Lim Seo-young, speaking for the people of Earth. We believe it is time we had a proper conversation." The council chamber fell completely silent. No primitive world had ever contacted the council directly. The technology required to send a real-time transmission across galactic distances was beyond most member species. "We have been watching your empire for quite some time," Dr. Lim continued. "We have listened to your communications, studied your technology, and observed your methods. We know about every world you have conquered, every species you have subjugated, and every plan you have made." HFY felt the blood drain from his face. If the humans had been monitoring Dominion communications for years, then they knew everything. Every military secret, every political weakness, every strategic plan. "We also know," Dr. Lim said, "that your invasion of Earth was voted on by 623 members of your council. We have the complete record of your debate, including the comments about how primitive and helpless we supposedly are. On Earth, Engineer Oh Jae-min was in his laboratory beneath Seoul, putting the finishing touches on humanity's most impressive revelation yet. He had been working on this project for 15 years, waiting for the day when Earth would need to show the galaxy exactly what humans could do. "The dimensional displacement drive is ready," he reported to Admiral Choi. "We can begin Phase 3 at any time." Admiral Choi looked at the tactical displays showing the Dominion fleet trapped in Earth's system. "Do it." Oh Jae-min activated his creation and space around Earth began to change. The dimensional displacement drive was humanity's greatest technological achievement, capable of moving objects instantly across vast distances. But today it would be used for something even more impressive. Admiral Zephron was trying to repair his damaged ship when his sensors detected something impossible. Space itself was shifting around the human fleet. Reality seemed to bend and twist, and then suddenly there were human ships everywhere. "Sir," his science officer said, his voice barely a whisper. "They are appearing throughout Dominion space simultaneously." The reports coming into the council chamber confirmed what Admiral Zephron's sensors were telling him. Human fleets were materializing at every major Dominion world at the same time. Not traveling there, appearing there, as if they had always been there. "This is impossible," HFY said, but his words sounded hollow even to himself. Ambassador Shin Yena was aboard one of the human ships that had just appeared in orbit around the Dominion capital world. She had been chosen for this mission because of her skills in diplomacy, but also because she had no patience for council arrogance. "Open a channel to the planet's surface," she ordered. Her transmission reached every communications device on the Dominion capital, from government centers to private homes. When she spoke, her words were translated into every major galactic language simultaneously. "People of the Dominion," she began. "This is Ambassador Shin Yena of Earth. Your leaders voted to invade our world because they believed we were weak and helpless. They were wrong." Captain Nam Jiho was leading the boarding party that had just captured Admiral Zephron's flagship. The Dominion crew had surrendered immediately when human soldiers appeared on their bridge using personal teleportation devices. "Admiral Zephron," Captain Nam said, "you are now a prisoner of Earth Defense Command. Your ship, your crew, and your entire fleet are under human control." Zephron looked around his bridge, now filled with human soldiers carrying weapons he did not recognize. "How?" he asked. "How did you get onto my ship?" Captain Nam smiled. "The same way our fleets appeared at your homeworlds, Admiral. We learned a long time ago that the universe has more dimensions than most species realize." The council chamber was in chaos now. Reports were flooding in from across Dominion space. Human fleets had appeared at every major military base, every important industrial world, and every government center. They had not fired a shot, but their message was clear. They could strike anywhere, anytime, and there was nothing the Dominion could do to stop them. Dr. Kwon Hyunwoo was in the research facility that had been hidden beneath Area 51 for the past 70 years. He was old now, one of the last scientists who remembered when the project began. Today, he finally got to reveal the truth about humanity's primitive technology. "Open the files," he ordered his staff. "All of them. Let the galaxy see what we have really been doing." The data that flowed out of Earth's hidden research facilities told an impossible story. Humans had been reverse engineering alien technology for over a century. Every crashed ship, every captured probe, every piece of alien equipment that had fallen into human hands had been studied, improved, and incorporated into human technology. But more than that, humans had improved on the original designs. Where alien technology was limited by their understanding of physics, human creativity had found ways to exceed those limitations. "The truth is," Dr. Kwon broadcast to the galaxy, "we stopped being primitive the day we decided to learn from you instead of joining you." In the council chamber, the full scope of humanity's deception was becoming clear. This was not a primitive world that had suddenly developed advanced technology. This was an advanced civilization that had deliberately hidden its capabilities for decades. Diplomat Lee Soo-young was aboard the human flagship that had appeared near the Dominion capital. Her job was to negotiate the terms of the Dominion's surrender. But first she wanted to make sure the council understood their situation. "Thisavar," she said, her transmission reaching him directly in the council chamber. "You are probably wondering why we hid our capabilities for so long." Thisavar, who had been trying to maintain some dignity, despite the collapse of everything he believed, looked up at the screen showing the human diplomat. "The answer is simple," Lee Soo-young continued. "We were waiting for you to reveal your true nature. We wanted to see what kind of civilization the Dominion really was." Admiral Park Dong-wook stood on the bridge of his flagship as Task Force Retribution prepared to enter hyperspace. Behind him, Earth's most powerful fleet was ready to begin the hunt for every remaining Dominion stronghold in the galaxy. "Sir," his navigation officer reported, "we have coordinates for all major Dominion military installations. Intelligence estimates they have 47 heavily defended systems remaining under their control." Admiral Park nodded. The Dominion's rapid collapse had surprised even human planners. Most of their member worlds had surrendered or declared independence within hours of Earth's fleet arriving. But the core Dominion worlds, the ones that had started the Empire, were still fighting. "Begin the pursuit," he ordered. "And remember, we are not here to conquer. We are here to end their ability to threaten anyone ever again." On the Dominion capital world, Thisavar was in an emergency bunker deep beneath the planet's surface. Around him, the last loyal members of the council tried to coordinate a defense against the human advance. "How many ships do we have left?" he asked General Mordak, the Dominion's highest-ranking military officer. "Fewer than 300, the general replied, his voice bitter. "Most of our fleet commanders have either surrendered or gone into hiding. 300 ships. A week ago, the Dominion had commanded over 1,000 vessels. Now they were reduced to a handful of loyalists who refused to accept the new reality. The humans are not like us," Council Member Krexlon said from his position at the tactical display. "They do not seem interested in ruling the worlds they defeat. They simply remove our ability to rule them. It was true. Every Dominion installation that humans had captured was quickly turned over to local populations. The humans freed conquered worlds but did not claim them. It was a strategy that none of the council members understood. Captain Lee Hanul was leading one of the pursuit squadrons tracking down Dominion fleet remnants in the outer systems. Her ships used advanced sensors that could detect hyperspace signatures from light years away, making it nearly impossible for enemy vessels to hide. Contact bearing 27 Mark IV, her sensor officer reported. Single Dominion destroyer running silent. Captain Lee studied the tactical display. The enemy ship was clearly trying to avoid detection, but human sensors were far too advanced for such simple tactics. Signal them to surrender, she ordered. If they refuse, disable their engines but leave life support intact. This was standard procedure for the human pursuit fleets. Unlike the Dominion, which typically destroyed enemy ships completely, humans preferred to capture crews alive. Every captured Dominion officer was a source of intelligence about remaining installations. The Dominion destroyer tried to run when Captain Lee's squadron approached, but the human ships were simply too fast. Within minutes, the enemy vessel was dead in space, its engines destroyed but its crew unharmed. Dr. Kwan Hyunwoo was aboard one of the human ships approaching a Dominion research facility on the edge of their empire. This particular installation was rumored to contain the technology the Dominion had stolen from hundreds of conquered civilizations. Beginning scan of the facility, his science officer reported. Sir, the energy readings are incredible. They have technology from over 200 different species stored here. Dr. Kwan had expected this. The Dominion's standard practice was to steal the best technology from every world they conquered, then use it to make their own forces stronger. But they had never been very creative about improving what they stole. Prepare boarding teams, he ordered. This technology belongs to the species it was taken from. We are going to return it. Commander Hong Jisu was leading a different kind of mission. Her special forces teams were hunting down Dominion leaders who had gone into hiding, rather than surrender. These were the beings responsible for ordering the conquest of hundreds of worlds, and Earth wanted them brought to justice. Target is in the building ahead, her scout reported as they moved through the crowded streets of a Dominion colony world. Former council member Vextha wanted for war crimes on 43 worlds. Commander Hong nodded. Vextha had voted for the invasion of Earth and had personally ordered the destruction of several civilizations that resisted Dominion rule. Today, her reign of terror would end. Remember, she told her team, we want her alive. She will stand trial for her crimes. The pursuit of the Dominion leadership was not about revenge. It was about justice for the hundreds of species they had oppressed. Earth had promised to give every conquered world the chance to face their former rulers in court. Back in the Dominion capital bunker, Thaisavar was receiving reports that made his situation clear. Every day, more of his remaining forces were being captured or destroyed. The humans were relentless, efficient, and utterly unstoppable. They know where everything is, General Mordak said, studying the tactical reports. Every secret base, every hidden installation, every emergency bunker. It is as if they have our complete military database. Thaisavar realized the truth. They do have our database. They have been monitoring our communications for years, remember? They know our empire better than we do. It was a terrifying thought. The humans had not just defeated the Dominion military. They had dismantled the entire empire using the Dominion's own information against them. Admiral Park, Dongwook was coordinating the assault on one of the last major Dominion military bases when he received word that made him smile. The base commander was requesting terms for surrender. Tell them the terms are simple, he said to his communications officer. Complete disarmament, full cooperation with war crimes investigations, and immediate release of all prisoners and slaves. The Dominion had kept millions of beings as forced laborers on their military installations. Freeing these prisoners was one of Earth's highest priorities. Dr. Song Minjung was in the command center on Earth, coordinating the liberation of conquered worlds across the galaxy. Her screens showed the progress of dozens of human fleets as they restored freedom to civilizations that had been oppressed for centuries. Sector 7 reports successful liberation of the Keth homeworld, one of her officers announced. The population is celebrating in the streets. Sector 12 has freed the Yilani colonies, another officer added. They are requesting human protection while they rebuild their government. This was the part of the operation that Dr. Song enjoyed most. Every day brought news of another species regaining their freedom, another world throwing off the chains of Dominion oppression. But the humans were careful not to replace one empire with another. Earth's fleets would provide protection during the transition period, but each liberated world would be free to choose its own government and future. Captain Nam Ji-ho was aboard one of the ships pursuing the remnants of Admiral Zephyron's original invasion fleet. Most of the surviving Dominion officers had surrendered quickly, but a few diehards were still trying to fight. "Sir," his tactical officer reported, "the enemy cruiser is charging weapons. They appear to be preparing for a suicide attack." Captain Nam shook his head. Some Dominion officers preferred death to the shame of surrender. It was a waste of life, but he would not force them to live. "Target their weapon systems only," he ordered. "If they want to die fighting, that is their choice. But they will not take their crew with them." The human weapons were precise enough to disable specific systems without destroying the entire ship. Within seconds, the Dominion cruiser was helpless but intact, its crew alive despite their commander's wishes. Meanwhile, on a remote Dominion outpost, Commander Yoon Soo-jin was overseeing the capture of one of their most important research facilities. This installation had been working on weapons designed specifically to fight human technology. "Ironic," she said, as her team secured the laboratories. "They were developing weapons to fight us based on intelligence that was completely wrong." The Dominion scientists had been trying to create defenses against primitive human technology. They had no idea that human capabilities were decades ahead of their own. Engineer Oh Jamin was studying the captured Dominion technology with fascination. Despite their military failures, the Dominion had developed some interesting innovations over the centuries. "This gravitational manipulation system is quite clever," he told his research team. "Not as advanced as our dimensional drives, but still useful. We should incorporate it into our next generation of ships." This was how humans had always operated. They learned from everyone, improved on everything, and never stopped advancing. It was one of the reasons they had surpassed the Dominion so completely. The final major Dominion stronghold fell 3 weeks after the pursuit began. Admiral Park Dong-wook accepted the surrender of the fortress personally, bringing to an end the last organized resistance to human forces. "The Galactic Dominion no longer exists," he announced to his fleet. "All major military installations have been captured or destroyed. All leadership has been captured or killed. The threat they posed to galactic peace is over." But the hunt was not quite finished. There were still individual Dominion officers scattered across the galaxy, some of them war criminals who needed to be brought to justice. Diplomat Lee Soo-young was coordinating the establishment of war crimes tribunals on dozens of worlds. Former Dominion subjects would have the chance to confront their oppressors in court, to see justice done for centuries of abuse. The trials while President Kim Seung-jin stood before the newly formed Galactic Assembly in what had once been the Dominion Council chambers. The Great Hall looked the same, but everything else had changed. Where once 847 conquered species had been forced to obey Dominion rule, now over 1,200 free civilizations had gathered to create something entirely new. "Today marks the beginning of a new era," President Kim announced to the assembled representatives. "The Galactic Dominion is dissolved. In its place, we establish the Terran Commonwealth, a voluntary alliance of free worlds dedicated to peace, cooperation, and mutual defense." The response from the assembly was enthusiastic. Species that had been oppressed for centuries were finally free to speak their minds and choose their own destinies. Many had already voted to join the new Commonwealth, while others preferred to remain independent but friendly. Dr. An Ji-yeon was in the archives beneath Seoul, preparing to publish the most important historical document in galactic history. The long deception would reveal the truth about humanity's secret expansion across the galaxy over the past 5 centuries. "Are you ready for this?" her research assistant asked. "Once this information is public, everyone will know that Earth has been spacefaring far longer than anyone suspected." Dr. An nodded. The time for secrecy was over. The galaxy deserved to know the truth about humanity's long-term planning and patient preparation. The document she was about to release contained evidence that humans had been exploring the galaxy since the 16th century. Secret colonies, hidden research stations, and covert observation posts had been established throughout known space. Earth had never been the primitive world it appeared to be. Chancellor Yu Minsu was preparing for his first day as head of the new Commonwealth government. He had been chosen not because he was human, but because the liberated species trusted Earth's commitment to freedom and justice. The first order of business, he told his staff, is establishing the new judicial system. Every former Dominion subject deserves their day in court. The war crimes trials were already underway on dozens of worlds. Thusevar and other former council members faced justice for their centuries of oppression. But the trials were fair and transparent, conducted according to galactic law rather than human revenge. Admiral Jonghase was overseeing the integration of former Dominion military assets into the Commonwealth Defense Force. Many alien officers who had served the Dominion under duress were eager to join a military organization dedicated to protection rather than conquest. The Keth battlecruiser Vengeance is requesting permission to join our fleet, his aide reported. They want to rename their ship Freedom and serve in the Liberation Forces. Admiral Jiang smiled. This was happening throughout the galaxy. Former enemies were becoming allies, united by their shared commitment to preventing another empire like the Dominion from ever rising again. On the former Dominion capital world, now renamed New Hope, the massive government complexes were being converted into schools and hospitals. The resources that had once funded galactic oppression were now being used to heal the damage that oppression had caused. Dr. Quan Hyun-woo, now elderly but still sharp, was giving a presentation to young scientists from across the galaxy. He was finally able to share the story of humanity's greatest achievement, not their military victory, but their patient centuries-long commitment to freedom. We could have revealed ourselves at any time, he told his audience. We had the technology to conquer the galaxy 500 years ago, but conquest was never our goal. We wanted to wait until we could be liberators instead of conquerors. The young scientists listened with fascination as Dr. Quan explained how humanity had developed faster than light travel, dimensional manipulation, and quantum communication, while carefully maintaining the illusion that Earth was primitive and isolated. Every crashed alien ship, every captured probe, every piece of technology we could acquire, we studied it all. But more importantly, we improved on it. We took alien concepts and made them work better than their creators ever imagined. Commander Hong Ji-soo was leading the effort to locate and rescue the millions of beings who had been enslaved by the Dominion. Her teams were working on thousands of worlds, freeing forced laborers and returning them to their home planets. Recovery Team 7 has found another labor camp, she reported to her superiors. 2,000 Yilani workers held captive for over 50 years. They are being transported home immediately. This was some of the most important work being done in the post-Dominion galaxy. Every freed slave was a victory against the oppression that had characterized the old empire. Captain Lee Hanul was now serving as Earth's ambassador to the Keth homeworld. Her job was to help former Dominion subjects adjust to their new freedom and decide how they wanted to participate in galactic civilization. The Keth government has voted unanimously to join the Commonwealth, she reported to Earth. They want full membership and are offering their entire fleet to the common defense. Similar reports were coming in from across the galaxy. Species after species was choosing to join the Commonwealth, attracted by its commitment to voluntary membership and democratic governance. Dr. Lim Seo-young was working with the new Commonwealth's Communications Division, establishing translation protocols that would allow all member species to communicate easily. Her work during first contact with the Dominion had proven the importance of clear communication between civilizations. We are creating a universal translation network, she explained to the Commonwealth Assembly. Every citizen of every member world will be able to communicate with every other citizen, regardless of their species or language. It was an ambitious project, but one that reflected the Commonwealth's commitment to unity and cooperation rather than dominance and control. Engineer O. Jamin was leading the effort to share human technology with Commonwealth members. Unlike the Dominion, which had hoarded the best technology for itself, Earth was freely distributing its advances to anyone who wanted them. The dimensional drive specifications are now available to all Commonwealth shipyards, he announced. Any member species can build ships capable of instantaneous travel between any points in the galaxy. This technology sharing was revolutionary. Instead of maintaining technological superiority to control others, Humanity was empowering everyone to reach their full potential. Admiral Park Dong-wook was establishing the new Commonwealth Naval Academy on Earth's moon. Officers from hundreds of species would train together, learning not just military tactics but also the principles of protecting freedom rather than enforcing control. Our mission is defense, not conquest, he told the first class of cadets. We exist to protect the weak from the strong, to prevent any future empire from oppressing the galaxy. The Academy's motto was simple: service, protection, freedom. It reflected everything the Commonwealth stood for and everything. The Dominion had opposed Ambassador. Shinyana was working with former Dominion allies who had chosen to join the Commonwealth rather than face isolation. These species had supported the Dominion out of fear rather than conviction. And most were eager to embrace a better way of life. The Hegemony Council has formally apologized for their role in Dominion expansion, she reported. They are requesting membership in the Commonwealth and offering full reparations to their former victims. These reconciliation efforts were crucial to building a stable galactic civilization. The Commonwealth was committed to healing old wounds rather than perpetuating ancient grudges. Captain Nam Jiho was serving as head of Commonwealth intelligence, working to ensure that no new threats could develop in secret. But unlike Dominion intelligence, which had focused on finding new worlds to conquer, Commonwealth intelligence focused on preventing conflicts before they started. We monitor communications throughout the galaxy, he explained to the assembly, but only to watch for signs of aggression or oppression. We do not spy on peaceful civilizations or interfere in their internal affairs. It was a delicate balance between security and privacy, but one that the Commonwealth was committed to maintaining. Dr. Song Minjung was overseeing the establishment of the Commonwealth's Disaster Response Network. When natural disasters or other emergencies struck member worlds, Commonwealth fleets would provide immediate assistance. Response time to any point in Commonwealth space is now under 6 hours, she reported. No member world will ever face a crisis alone. This commitment to mutual aid was one of the things that made the Commonwealth attractive to so many species. Unlike the Dominion's conditional protection, Commonwealth assistance was freely given to all members. The first anniversary of the Dominion's defeat was marked by celebrations across the galaxy. On over 1,000 worlds, former subjects celebrated their freedom and looked forward to a brighter future. President Kim stood once again before the Galactic Assembly, this time to deliver the Commonwealth's first annual address. 1 year ago, the galaxy was ruled by fear, he said. Today, it is guided by hope. 1 year ago, the strong oppressed the weak. Today, the strong protect the weak. 1 year ago, diversity was seen as weakness. Today, we celebrate it as our greatest strength.